Welcome to the 335th consecutive Friday Assembly of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots. My, oh my, what a great group of patriots we have assembled here this morning. Jim Kenyon approached me just 5 minutes ago on the final tally, and we have exactly 100 present this morning. And our winter residents have not yet really started to return, so I anticipate that our Friday groups are going to grow substantially over the next few weeks. By the way, those of you that were not in attendance at last Saturday evening's 10th Annual Southwest Veterans Foundation Patriots Ball, the one I encouraged you to go to for weeks after week, you missed a great program to honor and welcome home Vietnam-era veterans and surviving spouses of veterans. The ballroom at the Point Hilton Tapatio Cliffs Resort in Phoenix, where the event was held, set up capacity of more than 1,200 people, and I'm only guessing, but I suspect there were about 700 that were in attendance, to include some of our Red Friday members. Here you see Nan, Nancy, Hank, Arnie, and his wife Cindy, Ted, Karen, Kathy, John, and I had an absolutely wonderful time. And believe me, we thoroughly encourage you to register for next year's event. Those tickets were $165 each, and sponsors paid for all veterans that were in attendance, which was extraordinarily generous of them. You know, last Friday in my opening comments, I stated that each of you truly makes a difference by your faithful and your demonstrated support for America's deployed warriors. What I didn't say is this: doesn't it feel good to know that you're an important contributor to the biggest, the greatest, the best organized, most frequently attended, most technically advanced, and longest running Red Friday program across the globe? Please, somebody, point me to any other Red Friday group that can remotely match our 350 plus active member participation, the diversity in our membership, the consistency in our delivery of information and educational programs for our members, and the enthusiasm by which our programs are delivered. Please, as they say in Missouri, show me. Frankly, I hope there are such other Red Friday groups, because as all of you veterans are keenly aware, the demonstration of support from home for America's deployed warfighters is absolutely essential for maintaining high morale, and high morale strongly influences mission success. So thanks to each of you for enthusiastically demonstrating your support for America's deployed service members. Thank you for your patriotism, and thank you for your individual contributions in making your East Valley Red Friday Patriots such a successful program. To each of you, I say hooah. I'm curious, can anyone here name the current Secretary of the Army? Well, it happens to be Dan P. Driscoll, who was sworn in on February 25, 2025. And as the 26th Secretary of the Army, he is the senior civilian official responsible for all matters relating to U.S. Army, including its personnel, reserve affairs, installations, environmental issues, weapons systems, equipment acquisition, communications, and financial management and modernization efforts. He oversees the Army's budget, which includes managing the nearly 1 million active duty soldiers, Army National Guard, and Army Reserve, and over 265,000 Army civilians. Driscoll is a former U.S. Army officer who deployed to Iraq in 2009. He's a third-generation soldier with a family history of military service. He also has a background in business, law, and he is a graduate of law school. Driscoll has stated that his priorities include focusing on readiness and modernization, improving Army recruiting, and ensuring the Army is prepared for future conflicts in new and complex environments. In a recent interview, Driscoll was asked how the United States Army can be more effective in their warfighting missions. He answered with 5 words. 5 words that every warfighter wants to hear from their leaders. Get out of their way. Doesn't every warrior want to hear those words? And get out of my way might easily be followed by 5 more words. Let me do my job. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I do have a few guests that I would like to introduce to you guys this morning. John All. John, where are you? John, will you stand for there one moment, please?
There's a mic right there. We are. Okay.
Oh, I'm on mic. Okay.
So, John, you are a United States Air Force retiree.
Yes, sir.
What years?
1996 to 2023.
2023. So you're a 2-year retiree.
Yes, sir.
And
Right here.
you served both as enlisted and as a officer.
Yes, sir.
So how long did you serve in enlisted ranks?
11 years.
11 years. So you had your fingernails dirty on occasion.
Yeah, I was a sweaty, sir. Yeah.
All right. And what was your job in enlisted?
I started as a 1 November 3 and then went 1 Alpha 8.
Which is?
Cryptologic linguist.
Okay. And then when you transitioned after OCS to officer, what was your job?
I got picked up as a pilot, 130s, and then reclassed to 13 Bravo, command and control.
Superb. Superb. Deployments?
7 years of my life.
Thank you for your service, John.
Sir.
Welcome. And also John Herneson. John, where are you? There he is. John, you came as a guest of Don Boyer.
Yes, sir.
Did you ride with him?
I did.
Are you going home with him?
I will say after this.
So, John, you are also a United States Air Force veteran. And what years did you serve?
65 to 71.
And was your service all here stateside, or did you go abroad?
No, I was stateside.
And what was your job?
Administration specialist.
Okay. So you did like processing paychecks and
Oh, yeah, I did all that.
yeah. You were either somebody's best friend or their best enemy, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I was in the
Promotion orders.
supply, 166 supply
Superb. Now, where did you spend most of your career?
in Delaware.
In Delaware. Well, we appreciate very much. So I'm just curious, other than Don, did you ever hear about Red Friday before this guy?
No, I
introduced
didn't. No, sir.
you? No?
No.
Which neck of the woods do you live in? Apache Junction?
Mesa.
In Mesa.
Yeah.
We got to get the word out, I guess, huh?
Yes.
You going to help us there, John?
Pardon me?
You going to help us?
I'm going to help you.
Thank you for joining
Thank
us,
you.
my friend. And Nick Wood, where is Nick?
Over here, Nick.
Nick?
There we go.
Yes,
Nick,
sir.
welcome to Red Friday.
Thank you.
You too are Air Force. We got 3 new Air Force guys in here today. That's not fair. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are an Air Force retiree.
I am.
And how many years?
A little over 39.
39 years. And you were a crew chief.
I was.
So deployments,
Lots of them.
so you can appreciate the value of this group that is totally focused on our deployed warriors, correct?
Absolutely.
Which neck of the woods do you live in?
Nebraska.
And so you're here as a winter resident?
Yes.
For how long?
Oh, we try to come down for at least 3 or 4 months.
So that equates to about 16 weeks.
Yeah.
That's 16 Red Fridays, Nick.
Yeah.
I want to see that cap here with that name badge on next week now.
I'll do it.
Thank you for joining us, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Thank you very much. May I have a hoo-ah for these first-time guests? Hoo-ah! Thank you. You know, I don't know if any of you folks have ever had to go to court as a plaintiff or a defendant, but if so, I'm sure that it wasn't necessarily a pleasant experience, nor one that you would necessarily want to repeat. More often than not, court appearances have a tendency to tax you mentally, and they can take a heavy toll on your bank account, especially if you have to lawyer up. Now, being a born and raised East Texan, I knew that it's not uncommon for small town municipal and county courts to often favor locals over big corporations. I mean, in Texas, county judges are elected by popular vote. And when the judges are not sitting at the bench, they're mixing with their neighbors at church, special events, maybe even run into a neighbor over at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store. So when it comes to local residents having to come before a county judge, there just might be a bit of nepotism when ruling on cases. After all, these folks vote. Well, I happened to witness a county court case as a teenager after my pop was seriously injured in an automobile accident. And he took a big national trucking company to court in hopes to be compensated for his injuries. But the trucking company's slick, high-priced lawyer was ready to tear my pop's case apart. So when Pop was called to the stand, the lawyer stepped up, started straightening his designer tie, and he said, "Mr. Nations, is it true that at the scene of the accident, you told the responding officer, 'I'm fine'?" Well, Pop scratched his head, and he said, "Well, now, I was just about to load my favorite mule, Bessie, onto," then the lawyer abruptly interrupted, and he said, "I don't need a story. Just answer yes or no. Did you or did you not say, 'I'm fine'?" Well, Pop frowned and said, "Well, like I was saying, I was loading up Bessie and we were headed down there, and then the lawyer yelled, 'Objection, Your Honor. The witness is being evasive.'" But the county judge was kind of curious. So he leaned forward and he said, "Actually, I'd like to hear what Mr. Nations has to say about Bessie." Well, I saw a big smile come over Pop's face, and he said, "Thank you, Judge. Now, as I was saying, I had just loaded Bessie into my trailer, and we were driving along when this big old semi-truck blew right through a stop sign, smashed into us. Boom! My truck flipped. I flew one way. Poor Bessie went the other." Pop shook his head and said, "I was hurt bad." Couldn't even move. But I could hear Bessie moaning something awful. Next thing I know, a highway patrolman shows up. He walks over to Bessie, listens to her groaning, shakes his head, pulls out his pistol, and bang, puts her down right there. Well, all you might expect from a farming community, you could hear a loud gasp in the courtroom. They knew the feeling of having to put down animals. Then Pop continued, and he said, then the patrolman walks over to me, still holding his pistol, and he says, your mule was in bad shape, so I had to put her down now. How are you feeling? And at that point, the jury erupted in laughter, and the lawyer slumped in his seat, defeated. And Pop walked out of that courtroom with a fat settlement and a brand new mule. Named him Lucky. You know, last Sunday, America celebrated National Day of the Deployed, observed annually on October 26. This day honors all service members who have been in harm's way, potentially through deployment. National Day of the Deployed is America's day to say thank you to all military personnel serving inside the United States and to their families who keep the home fires burning. And although it is admirable, much less essential that all 50 states officially observe the holiday by offering a tribute to the deployed, this Red Friday Patriots group takes the tribute a step further. In fact, it takes it 51 steps further by our 52 Friday assemblies each year, with our primary mission being to remember everyone deployed and to support the success of their missions and to pray for a safe return to their loved ones. Many, if not most of you veterans who are assembled here this morning, have experienced deployment at some time during your military careers. It's quite likely that of those veterans present, your deployments occurred during the Vietnam War 50 plus years ago. Well, the process and preparation for deployment may not have changed drastically since you shipped out some years ago, but there have been a few twists. So we thought it would be interesting to have a veteran who has deployed in more recent years address our group today and share his experience with the deployment process. That said, I'm pleased to introduce our guest speaker for this morning's program, Tim Taylor, a gentleman who has a profound commitment to service and leadership and has spent nearly 2 decades serving both our country and our community. Tim is the Grassroots Engagement Director for Concerned Veterans for America, CVA, and currently serves as a newly commissioned logistics officer with the 161st Air Refueling Wing, nicknamed Copperheads, of the Arizona Air National Guard. Motto, you shout, we will fly. Tim's military career began in 2007 when he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, HUA. And while serving as a devil dog, Tim deployed to Afghanistan in 2010, went on to serve as a platoon commander and an environmental inspector. Following active duty service and transitioning to the Marine Corps Reserve, Tim earned a degree in U.S. history and political science from Arizona State University in 2016. Committed to continuing his armed forces service, Tim transferred to the Arizona Air National Guard in 2022, and having met all qualifications, he elected to attend officer training school. Tim, congratulations on being commissioned as a second lieutenant earlier this year, 2025. By the way, Tim, are you in this photo? Is that you right in the big? Well, in addition to his responsibility as a guardsman, Tim is also involved with important and meaningful veteran initiatives and community service programs. Since joining Concerned Veterans for America in 2022, Tim has led innovative veteran outreach efforts, including the creation of a nationwide program that educates veterans on the healthcare options within the VA system. His initiative has grown into a national network partnering with fraternities, sororities, and other community organizations across the country to connect and empower veterans. Tim is also a member of American Legion Post 39, Military Officers Association of America, National Guard Association of the United States, and he serves as a youth mentor for the Travis Manion Foundation's Character Does Matter program that uses veterans, survivors, and first responders as mentors to develop character and leadership skills in youth and young adults. We'll learn more about that particular program a little later today. Tim and his wife, Marianne, have been married since 2016 and are extraordinarily proud parents of 4 children, Lily, Luke, Penelope, and Emma. As it pertains to his son, Luke, rest assured that little man won't be caught out of uniform. And like many veterans, Tim prefers uniformity when it comes to the family's dress code. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tim Taylor.
I don't know if I should even come up here because Dick made me sound really good just a few minutes ago. So, and just a quick note, the matching outfits, it's my wife's idea. It is cute though, but I can't take credit for it. I am so honored and blessed to be here with you guys today. I want to thank Nancy for reaching out and asking me to come speak to you guys, and for Dick as well, and for providing all the talk louder. Oh, him. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm new here. Yeah, and for Dick for providing all the background information and everything. Very honored and blessed to be here. Now, there's some pros and cons to me being here today. One, I do a lot of public speaking for work, talk to a lot of people all over the place, and I have found that my sweet spot is at about 2 to 3 minutes. So the cons to me being here is Nancy gave me about 45, and I was like, "Ooh, I think I can do it in about 15." So we'll see how it goes. Bear with me. We're going to spend some time together. Dick kind of stole my thunder talking about the National Day of the Deployed, so I will skip over that part, but I'm honored to be here and talk about that a little bit amongst such great company, many deployed veterans. Where am I? So I joined the Marine Corps in 2007, straight out of high school. I knew that's what I wanted to be when I was in elementary school. I saw a Marine come in for a Veterans Day celebration, and he had his blues on, and I was like, man, how do I get that? What store did you get that at? And he was like, young man, you got to earn it. And then kind of pushed me away, and I was like, all right, fair, I get it. And that's what I wanted to do. So as soon as I could, 17 years old, signed the paperwork, shipped me out. Served until about 2022, and transferred over to the Air National Guard, like Dick said, and did quite a bit in my time in the Marine Corps. Dick covered it pretty doggone well. I don't know what else I need to say about that. So let's get into it. Nancy and Dick asked me to speak about deployments. What goes into a deployment? The families that are left back home, why deployments are important to our allies, and why they're important to our national interests as a country. And so I'd like to start off with a quote from President John F. Kennedy. He said, "The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it." That was true during the American Revolution, the War of 1812, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and all the places where we have troops in harm's way today. And even those not in harm's way, like in Germany. Ramstein's a really nice base. So what goes into a deployment? So I'll start there, the preparation, execution, and the homecoming. So I know every service does it differently, and throughout the generations, I know it's gone differently. So I'll talk about my experience a little bit and in my deployment preparation, and there's quite a bit of it. So before deploying to Afghanistan, we started our training about 4 or 5 months early before we actually got on the plane and went over there, which took about 3 or 4 days itself. We started in Quantico, Virginia in December. And let me tell you, I'm an Arizona kid. I've been here since I was 3 years old. I'm 36. I love the heat. I'm here for a reason. You don't have to shovel sunshine. And so Quantico in December felt like a punishment in itself. It rained or snowed every single day, except for 2 days while we were on the range. So thank goodness. But it was still bitter cold. Wake up in the morning, camis would be frozen. You just hear them crunch as you moved and get to warm up. It was great. I will never forget it. Don't want to go back, but I'll never forget it. From there, we went to 29 Palms. And if you are familiar, 29 Palms is the oasis in the desert. It's what they say, minus the oasis part. So we were there. We were there at Camp Wilson in 29 Palms, which is even more so in the desert than the actual base location itself. And so more in the desert, stayed in K-Spans for a few months in just the absolute most brutal conditions. Super hot during the day, freezing cold at night. It rained all the time, heavy winds, and the worst part was the cell service. It's absolutely terrible. You had to stand on a Connex box to get any kind of signal. It's just the worst. We don't have that in the Air Force. We have Wi-Fi. It's really nice. So mixed with all the training and stuff, we train day in, day out, long days. We're updating our wills. We're setting up our family care plans. And as at the time, I was 20 years old, I knew what a will was. I'd never done a will myself. And a family care plan, none of that stuff made any sense to me at the time. But, with all the training, there's a saying in the military, the more you bleed in training, the less you bleed in war. We really took that to heart. We trained long days, early mornings, late nights, 7 days a week, nonstop. Didn't matter what the conditions were, because you can't take a day off if it's rainy or windy, when you're in country. So April 1st was the day of execution. That was the day we flew out. And to be honest, I thought it was going to be a joke. I thought they were going to take us to go do something fun before we left. And so we got on the bus, and, there's rumors, there's the Lance Corporal Underground, and, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, do this real fun, and then we'll leave tomorrow. Nope. We got on the bus and went to the airport, got on a plane. So no jokes, straight to Afghanistan. Deployments are hard work. The first couple months are especially tough to get through as you're figuring things out, trying to get into a rhythm. It's early mornings, late nights, gear checks, vehicle maintenance, briefings, debriefings, intel updates, chow, and if you can, maybe a few minutes to contact home. And that's just an average day. The first couple weeks, we do a left seat, right seat training with the outgoing unit. And we did our best to learn as much as we could, but our first big learning moment came on our first solo convoy. We were hauling supplies and troops from Camp Dwyer up to Fob Marja. And this is in the southern Helmand province in Afghanistan. It's not a very long trip on the map, but it's a rough trip. There is one road, we called it Route Red. We didn't take it very often because it's called Route Red for a reason. with all the IEDs and stuff that are placed on it. So, the road is nice and straight, but we do this so you don't hit them. We had a brand new lieutenant leading that convoy. So let's just say he had confidence levels that were unmatched by experience levels. You don't have to laugh at all my bad jokes. There's probably going to be a couple of them. So he decided that we'd take about 40 vehicles and do just a complete resupply of everything they need, all the people, everything. Because why make 2 trips or 3 when you can just create one big, large target? So on the way up, the trip there was pretty rough. We had lots of trucks break down, some pop shots, and got severely off course on multiple occasions. If you're not familiar, what we started using was relatively new at the time in 2010. It was a Blue Force tracker. It's essentially a military GPS. It's not like Google. It does its job, but it's military grade. So we finally reached Marja. And just as we were entering the compound, the second vehicle in the convoy hits an IED. And it was a big one. I can't remember exactly the size of it, but it was pretty big. It totaled the vehicle. And luckily, nobody inside. There were no deaths, no casualties. Nobody died or severely hurt. There's one broken ankle and a couple concussions. I was in the vehicle right behind there, and we felt the concussion wave, and it was pretty significant. That night, as we were cycling through, getting all the supplies in, because with about 40 vehicles, we couldn't fit them all into the compound. So a lot of them stayed outside the wire, and we just rotated through the night. We got reports of sniper fire in the area. So sleep wasn't really on the agenda that night either. And the trip back was equally rough. More trucks broke down, more delays, got off track again. And at one point, the vehicle that we were towing behind us, because it was broken, fell off. So we didn't realize it till we got back to Camp Dwyer, inside the wire. And once we realized that, we had to regroup, go back out and find it. And that's really not something that you want to do in the middle of the night in Afghanistan. So that trip took in total about 3 days. We ran out of water, our air conditioning broke, and morale was somewhere around 0. But on the bright side, we learned quite a bit. And by the end of our tour there, we were able to do that same trip in a day. So the lessons learned, that lesson was learned the hard way, but that's just kind of how Marines do it. So while we were there, we also stood post, big, nice, elevated wooden boxes, staring at nothing but desert for as far as the eye can see. And if you're not familiar with the terrain of Afghanistan, it's very similar to Arizona. The southern part is desert, except there's not a lot of trees or shrubs. It's just dirt. So we got to look at dirt for about 16 hours a day. And we rotated through the armory, and we were the first to integrate the Afghan National Army into our day-to-day operations. So that was kind of a nightmare, as you can imagine. Don't recommend. But about halfway through our deployment, I had the unique opportunity to attend the very first corporal's course that was in Camp Leatherneck in Afghanistan. And so the neat part about that is we ran through the whole corporal's course thing, learning how to be a leader, an NCO in the Marine Corps. And then we could put that stuff into practice, into real life, going outside the wire, leading convoys, leading patrols and stuff like that in real time, things that you just can't do at Camp Pendleton. And then finally, the homecoming. So the last weeks in country are just the best. The new units there, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're ready, they're eager, they want to take over. And you're just trying not to get voluntold to do anything new. So you start getting some personal time back. You get nice, fresh haircuts. You go to the gym. You're getting big and swole and looking good. You're reading more, eating at the chow hall 3 times a day. Less MREs, not 0, but definitely less. And maybe a little bit of armory poker. If you're interested in that, I'm not going to talk about that on camera. But before you can see your family, you got to meet the final boss of every deployment, and that's returning your gear. Good old SIF. Yep. I'm pretty sure there's still sand in my pack from Afghanistan. It's impossible to get it all out. They're going to find it. That took about 2 days to get everybody's gear in. But all the hassle, it's worth it when you finally get home. You step off the plane or the bus, and You get to see your family again. There's really nothing quite like it. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the other side of deployments, the families and loved ones that are left behind. We, the service members, get a lot of credit, and I think rightfully so, but the truth is our families serve too, and they deserve just as much credit. There's a simplicity in deployments. Yeah, they're mentally and physically challenging, but they're simple in the sense that you don't have to worry about normal day-to-day things. You wake up, you're told what to do, you have a job, you have a mission, you go to bed, and you do that the next day. It's simple. But the families back home overnight become single parents. They juggle the bills, the house, the kids, the stress. When the toddler doesn't want to wear that shirt, she wants to wear that shirt, all the good stuff. All while living in constant fear of the unknown. They watch the news more than they should, hoping to not hear about where we are. And they jump at every phone that rings, hoping it's us, even answering the spam calls from Scam Likely, just in case. When I deployed, it was 2010. I left when I was 20. I turned 21 in Afghanistan in a dry country. It's, not a fun 21st birthday. But when I deployed, I didn't have any kids. I was newly married to my first wife, and she was a Marine going through MOS school at the time, so we were both pretty busy. But many of the Marines that I served with had families, had kids that they left behind, and waiting for their mom or dad to come home while their spouse managed solo back home. And I remember their homecoming, and it's a day I'll never forget. Stepping off the bus, having all the families there, having their signs ready, and the little kids just so excited and so giddy. And I am glad that I didn't have kids at the time, because I don't know how tough that would have been for them. I know it was tough, but it's hard to imagine. But when we come home, it's not always perfect, and that's the harsh reality. Some of us come back to broken relationships, drained bank accounts, or news of loved ones who passed away while we were gone. So in many cases, it is a bittersweet moment. The deployments don't just test the service member, it tests every person connected to them. So when you see a member of when you see a family member of a deployed service member, be sure to thank them, because they're fighting a battle of their own too. So why do we deploy? Why go through all the training, all the hardship, all the sacrifice? It's because America has interests and allies around the world, and part of keeping our homeland safe is making sure the fight never comes to our door. And that's what part of these deployments are. They're about is my time up? Oh, there it goes. They're about deterrence, diplomacy, and strategy. When our service members deploy, they're showing the world, not just the host country, not just us back here, but they're showing the world what America stands for and what it means when we say we're stand with our friends. We have interests in other countries. We have strategic interests in other countries where we need to be. Places like Germany. Ramstein Air Base is the gateway to Europe. It's absolutely vital that we keep a presence there. And it also shows that we keep our promises to our allies. We have many allies and strategic partnerships around the world, not just the 150 countries that we have troops in, but many other countries as well. And so it shows that we keep our promise. But our greatest promise is, and always should be, to pursue peace. We've seen in recent years how crucial it is to stand by our allies, whether it means supporting partners in Eastern Europe, ensuring stability in the Pacific. When freedom is under threat, the United States doesn't look away. But, and this is important, we also have to be smart about when and where we deploy our troops. Our strength doesn't come just from military might. It comes from moral clarity and purpose. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm proud to work with Concerned Veterans for America. Our organization is dedicated to ensuring that our country's policies truly serve the people, truly serve the American people. We focus on things like domestic energy dominance, the economy, national defense, foreign policy, and veterans health care. From a foreign policy standpoint, we believe we believe in freedom, liberty, and the American dream. We don't want to deploy our troops just for deployment's sake and put them in harm's way unnecessarily. We don't want to engage in endless wars and have our troops constantly in combat. We still have troops in Iraq to this day, and we've been there for 20 plus years. The Iraqi war can drink illegally on its own. And we believe in using the DIME approach. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's diplomacy, information, military, and economic. Military being the last resort. The other levers of foreign policy are absolutely vital and crucial, and I think that we use them pretty doggone well. The last note on foreign policy is that when we do decide that it's the right thing to send our troops in, we want them to have a clear mission, a clear outline for success, and a clear pull-out strategy. So we don't engage in endless wars, and so we don't have them in harm's way unnecessarily. If a deployment doesn't serve our national interest or make America safer, we just shouldn't do it. And I'll wrap it up by saying this. When Nancy first asked me to speak, I started thinking about why I joined in the first place. I grew up as a kid reading, and thanks to the History Channel back then when it played history, watching, documentaries and shows about the brave men and women who came before me. Those heroes inspired me to serve and to join the military and become a Marine and do all the things that I've done. And looking around this room, I see many of those same faces. The people who laid the groundwork for my generation to step up and to serve. You're the reason I'm here today. You're the reason my generation has examples to follow. And if you're like me, you may not consider yourself a hero, but to me, you are. So, thank you. Thank you for your service, for your sacrifice, and for the example that you've set. May God bless you all. God bless America, and God bless our troops. Thank you.
Tim, on behalf of this East Valley Red Friday Patriots group, I want to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate welcoming you to the Order of the Red. And this specifically states that we hereby recognize and commend Tim Taylor, Second Lieutenant, Arizona Air National Guard, for his honorable military service, veteran support initiatives, and support of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots.
Thank
and
you.
furthermore, not yet. Furthermore,
Let me get off the stage first.
I would like to present you with this Red Friday lapel pin, and we're certainly hoping two things. One, that you will return to share in our camaraderie, and two, that you will wear this lapel pin proudly.
Absolutely will. Thank you, Dick.
Thank you. Appreciate you. I would like to take this moment to, Tim did not speak extensively about the organization that he is involved with now in promoting, but I would like to take this opportunity to play a brief video that highlights the mission of the Travis Manion Foundation, where he serves as a youth mentor. Thank you for your involvement and support in that organization, Tim. Last Sunday, October 26, Americans celebrated National Day of the Deployed, first observed in 2006. And every year since 2011, a U.S. Senate resolution is passed anew to honor our deployed warriors. In 2006, a lady by the name of Shelley Michaels Aberle approached then North Dakota Governor John Hoeven to support a proclamation for a day to honor those men and women actively serving in the military outside of the United States. Hoeven was the first governor in the United States to recognize deployed troops through a formal proclamation, and October 26 was chosen as the annual date of observance because it was the birthday of Aberle's cousin, U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel David Hosna, who was actually serving in Iraq at the time. In 2011, Hoeven, by then a United States Senator, sponsored a resolution designating October 26 as National Day of the Deployed. That resolution passed unanimously, and since 2011, all 50 states have officially observed the holiday. The annual observance is certainly a very special day for our Red Friday group, since it is the men and women of our armed forces that are currently deployed that we are here to honor each and every Friday. These brave men and women go wherever they are called, and they serve our country extraordinarily well. The day also allows Americans to honor the sacrifices of military families, especially during the times of their significant others' deployment. Furthermore, this day is set aside to honor all military veterans who were deployed in the service of the United States or have sacrificed their lives to defend our country while deployed. I think it's hard for most civilians to imagine a more challenging military assignment than one taking our service member and women to countries all over the world, far away from home. As many of you know, deployments can last anywhere from 90 days to 15 months, longer in some cases. And having a loved one actively serving on deployment, needless to say, brings numerous challenges. Extended periods of time away from home are often not knowing where your loved one may be, and it's certainly an extraordinarily heavy tax on the military family, spouses, and children. Current data states that the U.S. has more than 2.8 million personnel, including DoD civilian employees. The DoD manages 568,000 facilities on 4,800 military sites covering 27 million acres, a footprint the size of the state of Virginia. U.S. military and DoD personnel serve in 178 of the world's 195 countries at more than 750 military bases. Regarding deployments, our armed forces currently have 177,000 active duty personnel, 29,000 National Guard and reservists deployed abroad, totaling 207,000, and an additional 36,000 DoD civilians in support roles, bringing the total number of personnel deployed abroad to 243,000. The estimates of deployed personnel by branch of service are United States Army, 59,000, United States Marine Corps, 33,000, United States Navy, 45,000, Air Force, 65,000, Coast Guard, 4,000, and DoD civilian personnel, 37,000, for a total 243,000 personnel. The largest concentration of active duty personnel are in Japan, where we have around 54,000 personnel, Germany, around 36,000, and South Korea, around 23,000 personnel. These three countries house 70% of deployed U.S. active duty troops, but do not include all personnel on temporary duty or deployed in support of contingency operations. Many of these personnel serving on classified assignments around the globe, unable to communicate with or advise their loved ones as to their location for very extended periods of time. So, let's take a moment and reflect on relatively modern deployment history for a moment. It's interesting to note that more Americans deployed to combat zones overseas during World War II than any other war in American history. According to the VA, during World War II period from September 16, 1940 through 25 July 1947, some 16.5 million men and women served in the United States Armed Forces. This equates to about 1/3 of the American male population 15 years and older. Of those serving in uniform during World War II, approximately 73%, or more than 12 million American service members served overseas. Then there was the Korean War. Lasted 3 years. Began June 25, 1950, ended 27 July 1953. About 1.8 million U.S. military personnel served in the Korean War theater. But even after the Korean War ended, 1953, the Army maintained peacetime levels of strength that were unprecedented in the country's history. During the Vietnam War era, 64 to 73, 8.7 million military personnel served on active duty. 3.4 million personnel served in the Southeast Asia theater of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, including flight crews based in Thailand and sailors in adjacent South China Sea waters. 2.6 million of these 3.4 million personnel served within the borders of South Vietnam. And of the 2.6 million, between 1 and 1.6 million, in other words, 40 to 60%, either fought in combat, provided close combat support, or they were at least regularly exposed to enemy attack. Roughly 7,500 women served in Vietnam, of whom 6,300, 83.5%, were nurses. Since the beginning of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq in 2001, and up until the U.S. withdrawal in 2021, over 1.9 million U.S. military personnel were deployed there as part of Operation Enduring Freedom or Operation Iraqi Freedom. So, if we examine highlights of U.S. deployments following World War II to present, on average, 23% of all U.S. service members have been stationed on foreign soil. However, in 2005, that number rose to 27%, which is roughly the average going back to the 1950s era during Korean War. The low point in percentage terms was 13.7% in 1995, as the Bosnian War was coming to a close, while the high point was 31%, both in 1951 during the Korean War and 1968 during the Vietnam War. Interesting statistics, to say the least. So, on the days surrounding Day of the Deployed, I believe the important thing for Americans to do is to honor our deployed troops and their families, and no matter what type of gesture we may choose, all that matters is that our gesture is heartfelt. Large or small, every act of kindness makes a difference in the lives of those deployed troops and their families and demonstrates our support for them. May I have a resounding hoo-ah for America's deployed service members? Thank you. Before I go into announcements, I do want to make a point of highlighting dress code for this Red Friday group. Barry, will you stand? Kelly, will you please stand? Moving forward, this is the dress code for Halloween. Thank you for coming to entertain us today. Barry, how long have you been wearing that outfit? About 4 years. 4 years. Well, it's still got a year or two left in it. I do have a couple of announcements I'd like to make. Just as a reminder, we're still looking for volunteers. Participation in the All-American Veterans Day Parade scheduled for Tuesday morning, November 11 in Apache Junction. Hank, raise your hand, has the sign-up sheet for those wishing to volunteer, and she'll be seated at that table right after the meeting. Please give her your name and your phone number, and I'll be getting out a information sheet on our group's staging area, where we depart from to go to their staging area, and all of the details about what to wear, etc. I need at least 4 or 5 more volunteers. If we can get them, I would really appreciate it. Another reminder that we do have numerous guest speakers that are scheduled for the remainder of this year, so please plan to attend and support them. We have guest speakers scheduled for November 7, November 14, November 21, December 5, and December 19. And as we speak, we have other guest speakers that are being pursued for some of the open dates for this year, as well as Q1 of 2026. Speaking of upcoming assemblies, please mark this mid-November date as a must attend. Friday, November 14. On that date, both our R.E.D group as well as Daughters of the American Revolution group are sponsoring a 250th birthday celebration for the United States Army, Marines, and Navy. Plan to have a guest speaker. We'll have cake cutting ceremonies for each branch of service. We've printed tickets for the event, which will allow us to lock in on the number of attendees to expect. Hank will have those tickets available after we dismiss this morning. Please request the ticket only if you plan to attend. And if you have a spouse, significant other, or friend that you expect that will be joining you, make sure you get a ticket for them. The only reason for the ticket is so that we can prepare and make sure that we have sufficient seating and that our kitchen staff is aware of what is required for a breakfast meal that morning. Regarding our custom printed shirts, last Saturday, Barry submitted your orders to our supplier for printing service. How many were turned in last week? 40? 34 were turned in last week. If you wish to order one of those shirts, I have order forms over here that you complete after the meeting. Turn it in with either check or cash, and we'll get those processed for you. Also, I know that some of you occasionally go to our East Valley Red Friday Patriots YouTube website to view our recorded programs, and we appreciate you doing so. But I'm curious if you're visiting the site frequently enough. Are you copying the website address, sending it to your kids, grandkids, or family members and friends? Are you encouraging them to view our programs and asking them to forward the link on to others, especially those that have family members serving on active duty? There is a lot of effort that goes into those recordings, much less the huge task of editing before the videos are uploaded to our website. We really need more viewing activity to keep the program alive. So please, make it a point to forward the link to others and encourage them to view our recorded programs. And a final reminder, please leave your name badges at the greeting desk upon your departure. The badges and the smiling faces of our Red Friday greeters will be arriving. I'll be awaiting your arrival next week. And to our guests, thank you for joining us today. We sincerely hope that you'll return to share in our camaraderie and support our mission. And please know that you will always be welcome at our Red Friday assemblies. As a final reminder, let's not overlook the importance of our Red Friday mission to keep our deployed warfighters in our thoughts and prayers, and to continue to demonstrate our support for these fine men and women. Enjoy your weekend.